All right, a big story we're tracking for you. Ugandan marathon runner Rebecca Cheptegei has died after being burned by a former boyfriend. Cheptegei was based in Kenya at the time of her attack. Her death has yet again shone the spotlight on the murder of women athletes in East Africa. They're including Agnes Tirop and Damaris Mutua, also killed by their partners. Let's bring in Zaina Kombo, who is Amnesty International's Equality and Anti-Discrimination Manager in Kenya. Zaina, it's great to talk to you. Thanks for coming on. And what an absolutely harrowing story. Of course, all of us heard when the incident happened, and we hoped against hope that Rebecca would survive this horrific attack.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for having me.
Tell us more about the kind of numbers we're seeing, particularly in East Africa, when it comes to gender-based violence.
So gender-based violence is quite pervasive in the region. I cannot even start talking about statistics because it seems like every other day women are killed, women are abused, and no matter the reports, we still have to recognize that behind statistics, there are people who are killed, women who are killed, most of whom certainly reported threats to their lives, but they were not taken seriously. Most of whom have died in their homes or in the hands of people that they would have deemed to be their safest space to be in. So we are dealing with a situation where women feel they're not taken seriously. And if I am to speak about Kenya, we've not seen not even a comment from our president condemning femicide in Kenya, which leaves us feeling quite vulnerable and not important, like our lives do not really matter in this country, because we've seen other events in the country that have justified the president's comments and condemnation. But when it comes to women's lives, when it comes to femicide, so first of all, it's not even recognized in our laws as a standalone crime. And that is one of the things we have been pushing together with others in the anti-femicide movement. Unless and until we have proper political goodwill, then we will not have perpetrators being convicted. We will not have proper investigations. We still have quite a bit to go. We have a long way to go in terms of investigations, because even if, like, for example, in Rebecca's case, it started off as gender-based violence, but ended up to be something we term as femicide. But in our courts today, if we are going to prosecute that case, it will only be taken as a homicide case and not as a femicide case, because our laws do not recognize femicide as a criminal offense.
I'm finding it difficult to understand that. And I imagine that that means it's really difficult to get a sense of, you talked about the fact that we talk about statistics, but there are real people behind those numbers. But those numbers are important and they do tell us a story. Does that mean that it's hard to get solid numbers on the extent of gender-based violence and femicide?
Yes, it is hard because, number one, we do not have one specific report that consolidates all the femicide cases that have been ongoing. Rebecca's case is quite high profile, and I think, of course, it gets all this attention. But we have many women who die, in the same manner, but their cases are never getting this much attention. But there are still femicide cases, and the cases still warrant proper investigations. But what we see is when it comes to women and women's lives, the investigations are not all that thorough. Recently, we had a suspect who was accused of having killed 42 women. We were told at some point that he confessed. He later on stated that he was coerced to confess that he killed about 42 women in some 2 years. And then later on, we got news that he apparently escaped from the remand station, and it brought about so many questions as to, the seriousness of femicide cases and women's lives, because with his escape, it means all those cases have stalled. That case has stalled. we still have body parts of women lying in our morgues because they're not, the families were not able to inter them, those who were identified. And to some extent, they were denied those body parts with the relevant. We need to get more body parts from the quarry pit to be matched so that they can bury full bodies. But then the retrieval process has also been pending. It was suspended. So you wonder, how are they supposed to get their full body parts for them to inter their relatives and loved ones?
Certainly.
So we are quite disturbed. We are still having meetings with partners to see how we can take this forward. But definitely, we need to have gender-based violence taken more seriously. We have legislation as old as 9 years, like we have the Protection Against Domestic Violence Act that was passed in 2015, but is yet to be operationalized as we speak in 2024. And that act would allow then for anyone to report a case of gender-based violence as and when it happens, that is to the police station.
She was, of course, based in Kenya at the time of this attack, Zaina, but Rebecca Cheptegei, Ugandan marathon runner, did you say that the Ugandan president had not said or issued a statement in the wake of her horrific killing?
No. I'm talking about our own president.
You're talking about the Kenyan president, yeah.
You remember there was another wave of femicide in January this year where like 10,000 women went to the streets of Nairobi to demand justice and to demand that femicide be recognized as a standalone criminal offense in our laws. But since then, we've not seen anything from the president himself.
Yeah.
That is what I was talking about. Yeah.
Thank you for that clarity. And of course, going back to the issue of the people behind these horrific and senseless killings. Cheptegei was just recently at the Paris Olympics. She finished 44th in the marathon there. She won gold at the World Mountain and Trail Running Championships in Chiang Mai in Thailand just 2 years ago. A young woman in the prime of her life and in the prime of her career that had so much to offer.
Yeah, it is quite unfortunate, and this goes to show how this criminal offense is quite indiscriminate. It does not matter whether you are prominent or not. Femicide could get to anyone, and any woman in this country. No one is safe. No woman is safe in this country.
Zaina, Kombo, let me thank you for your time this afternoon. Certainly a story we can relate to here in South Africa as well, where gender-based violence and femicide is described as our parallel pandemic during COVID-19. Zaina is with Amnesty International in Kenya.